Yo, it's Guido coming at you with the Tactics Talk. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. And I've got a new submitter, Dimmons_1 in his Standard B, a Tier 9 Italian auto-loading tank. It's a medium. He's loaded in here to Mines, Yuck, in the South Spawn. He sent me a note and said, hey, I'm looking for what I could have done better here. This is actually his highest tier tank. Pretty new to the game. Fairly, well, let's call it average win rate in it. And as always, I look at players that I've never had a submission from just to kind of get a general idea of what their stats are. And Dimmons is learning the game, moving on, and asking for some help. So we're going to take a look at his Standard B performance. He's Tier 9 in that'll be a mid-tier in a 3.57. He's on Mines, and at first I thought he was headed up the hill. Pretty fast tank. He's got a WZ-132 Alpha on his right side. He's going to go up there, but he's going to elect to come to this rock right here. So a couple things about that. Number one, I'm happy that he's not in the back camping, so that's fantastic. He is forward. I'm not a big fan of this rock. It's fairly limited, but we're going to watch how he works it because it does a pretty nice job with it right here. And we'll talk a little bit, Dimmons, about some of the things you could probably do a little better as you go. Taking the hill on this map doesn't guarantee a win, but it goes a long ways towards doing it. You're a little bit slower than the WZ. We're going to watch the WZ make it, but you're also going to find a considerable number of very large guns down here, which is the danger, obviously, of trying to take the hill. So let's see how this plays out initially. He's also an autoloader, but he's got one shell ready. He's the kind of autoloader, then, that can fire before all of them are loaded up. So he's going to kind of watch this go down, and he gets seen. A 1390 has come up over there, so he finds that guy and starts shooting him. One thing you got to watch out for is you got to be able to fight if you're going to go forward like this several different directions at once. So nice job keeping yourself covered up, but you were maybe a little bit exposed on the right side of that rock. Somebody peeking around might have had an opportunity. The good news is the enemy team is not really showing any kind of interest in forcing the situation here at the hill. So they're all kind of sitting back as well, minus the 1390. The ST1 does go across. Now I will tell you right here, be very careful about backing out from behind cover with your rear end like that. You won't see anyone until your spotting points come out from behind that rock, and you'll be seen long before. Spotting points being on top of the turret and right there on the gun mantlet. So you can see that this whole section of your tank came out, and there are guys that are going to be up and around here with the potential to shoot, so be very careful about that. You do get spotted, and fortunately the T-54 is not in a position to take a shot, nor is the T-30 poking around the corner, which would really be bad. You have a Super Conqueror, though, that is anchoring your right side there a little bit. We're going to go investigate that. I liked that, so nice job. Nobody was really threatening to shoot you, so you went to see if you could get a shot. And I will say one thing about your gameplay, at least in this one that I've seen, the Sample 01, is the fact that you are definitely looking for shots, trying to create shots most of the time. Most of the time. So we're going to sit here for a while. I'm not really sure. Oh, where are all of them? I wouldn't worry about typing in the middle of that. There's plenty of them lit for you to deal with them right now. Be careful about anything that takes you away from shooting. Anything that takes you away from shooting, whether it is being hesitant or in the wrong position or simply not working on it. The first shot I might have tried to get the sprocket on, but you definitely go for it for the second one, so that's good awareness of how the game is played. You do take a hit from the ISU, but he dies. And now you've got an ST1 there, so you're doing that fighting two directions thing. But the T-30 dies, Super Conqueror or the Artie or somebody gets rid of him. And now you need to start thinking about, all right, what's my next position? So we went to this position, which not my favorite, but you played it well. You found some shots. You moved around a little bit and created some shots. You only traded the one hit in there for 2,177 and 276 spotting. But now is the time to figure out what to do next. You need to go somewhere else. And on this map, I mentioned when we started, initial positioning wise, that digging the hill is very important. If you can't take the hill or you're not dominating the hill, you need to look to retake it later on in the game. So let's see what Dimmons does now. Kind of peeking around there. That defender has a tall enough turret that he's basically going to see you each time that you do that. Be very careful about moving while you're lit when there's things like Death Stars who can potentially be looking that way. You got away with it. You went past. I agree with moving up the hill. I think that was the right answer. I also agree with not stopping there and maybe trying to take a shot at the E100. Also be careful about driving right around into open spots where there are people who have shots on you. For example, any TDs that are up here, you were lit coming up the hill and you didn't wait long enough to be unlit, as you come around this corner, if one of them was aiming in here, you may have taken a hit. Now, there's not many left, right? And if you count noses, you probably know where they all are. So if you were looking at that and you went, yeah, there's no one but the FV, and I think he's behind that rock, then fair enough. But be very careful about that kind of maneuvering. Now, we're going to come in here and make some interesting decisions. We kind of look at the turret, and now we're trying to pick at what I'm assuming you're trying to go up that little bar at the top, when in reality, with the way that this E100 is positioned, his hull is sticking up, which is going to flat plate the lower hull to you. It's not going to be as angled as if you were on level ground or level with you. Anytime it's kind of a look up situation, this is a weird one though, right? It's not look up, you're look down, but his tank has the front end up in the air, and that's going to go ahead and lower the angle of that lower plate in relation to you. 3 shots going to pen right through that without messing around. I would have taken them right there. We kind of look out. Okay, there we go. There's one. And now we're going to track. And now we're going to go over here and try to get this guy. Okay, you got the 268 out. Good on you. I think that's a possibility of bouncing itself. I would have fired. Look at the situation that you've got. It's one. This is one. You haven't lost a tank yet. Okay? All that juicy hit points, all those juicy hit points on that E100, that lower plate, I'd have plugged 3 straight into the lower plate and then backed out. You're not going to end up getting lit right here. I don't know if your knowledge of the bushes here gave you that good position. He was a little bit behind the bush. I may have backed up a little bit on that bush, so you're a little bit further back from it, and then pumped the 3 shots on the E100. But in any event, definitely take those 3 easy shots right into his lower hole. Kind of look around that guy. Down he goes, back up again, so good on you. Now this is an interesting decision right here for all of us to think about. I got an E100 with a bunch of hit points. I have this auto loader. I just reloaded one. If I fire now, the second one will reload long because it's not an IS-3A. So it will be the longest reload I could have. I can wait for another shell, which will be a shorter reload than my first one. I'll have 2 shells, but how many hit points will he have? So let's see what Dimmons decides to do. And it looks like he's going to go ahead and reload his second one at least. Now, based on the amount of firepower you have and the way his hit points are disappearing right now, I probably would have taken the shot right away to make sure I got the hit points. But if you wanted to wait for the second one, I'd have shot right now. Just fire away. No sense waiting. There you go. And you end up getting him, down he goes. And this is pretty much just a complete face roll. Not a whole bunch to get out of this. A lot of things I talked about were small things. In a face roll, it's a lot of your sins and problems with positioning and where you go can be covered up by a face roll because you weren't really threatened from many directions. One of the reasons I don't like that initial rock is precisely how you got hit and seen by a couple of guys over there. If they do go forward, they can get a lot of shots into your side. That exposes them, of course, but if you get blown up because there's a couple guys there, exposing them doesn't really help you for the rest of the battle because you're dead. So I think I would have tried to probably get up on the hill. Still, it was a more careful decision, and you made the most of it. So not bad, 2,956, pretty good for a tier 9 tank, especially at your level. Nice, careful gameplay. I think you've got some good mechanical skills, but there's a couple things in there I would tweak and be careful about. Things like backing out from behind rocks backwards when you know there's guys there, especially T-30s, who could have come around the corner and wipe you out, plus the Death Star back there and all that good stuff. And then just a little bit of a discussion right there on target selection. Not a critical deal here because it was such a face roll. It wasn't going to stop your team from winning. But at the same time, you got to think about, hey, how do I maximize my hit point damage in there also? If it was a close game, let's change that up a little bit. Say it was a close game and you were facing that E100 down there in that 268 V4. Then there's probably an argument for taking the gun out of the game. And that may have been what was in your mind, which is all good. I'm just saying if you wanted to maximize hit points, you'd have just pumped 3 shots straight into the lower plate of that E100. I don't think you needed to track it there. That's another situational thing. Let's say, again, it was a close game and you had some guys getting ready to maybe flank the E100, tracking him and getting assist damage and pinning him down was a great idea right there. But in that case, again, I'm beating the dead horse, but just fire those 3 shells right into his lower plate. All right, man, thanks for sending that in. I hope that helps, and we will see you.